Hey guys, I know it's been a minute, but I know the question that's on everybody's mind is should he even be here today? Well, yeah, I should, because I want to talk about this movie. Sorry for the long wait between movies, guys. One, life has been crazy. Two, I've just been all over the map, and there hasn't really been a whole lot of movies coming out lately that I've really cared to go and see, but I had to make sure that after my little brief hiatus, I had to come back with a film I was anxiously waiting for, and that was this film, Clerks Iii, directed by Kevin Smith, written by Kevin Smith, edited by Kevin Smith. It's just a story years in the making, and I had a fun opportunity about 2 weeks ago to go see Kevin Smith in Anaheim, California, present Clerks 3 during his convenience tour for the film. Had a whole lot of fun, you guys. You know, I got the cool VIP swag signed by Kevin Smith himself, as well as a copy of the script of the film, which is pretty cool. I also like to give a shout out to Andrea and Craig, my friends who went with me out there. They were gracious enough to pick me up from the airport, take me back to the airport during my trip out in California. I had a whole lot of fun, especially hanging out with them and going to see Kevin Smith and see this movie, see his Q&A, get to meet Kevin Smith, which was a lot of fun, and really odd having him this close to my face. And with all that out of the way, guys, let's talk about this movie. And I dig Kevin Smith as a filmmaker. I know it's a very niche set of films that he has. He's definitely got his own flavor, his own style, his own personality put into these, and they're not for everybody. That's something straight off the bat. But he does have enough different kinds of films that I think different people will appreciate the different films on each of their own merits. And some people might not like his catalog at all for just the way he is, some of the humor, some of the language. Like, I get it. It is definitely not for everybody, which is like most filmmakers and most films in general. So, I clearly went into this knowing that as a fan, you know, I might be looking at this with a little bias. I am going to try to review this in such a way that if you've never seen a Kevin Smith movie and you're curious about it, you know, maybe this will get the foot in the door. And if you are familiar with Kevin Smith and don't like him, you know, this might steer you away from it even more than you already thought it would. And if you are a Kevin Smith fan and you do enjoy this stuff, maybe I'll be in a line with a lot of people. So we'll find out. We'll get there. It's a journey. It's a process. So let's talk about Clerks 3. So I love the first Clerks. I really, really like the second Clerks. And actually, the second Clerks is actually the film that got me into the Kevin Smith kind of sort of. It was kind of my gateway because I had a friend and she really wanted to watch this movie. We were hanging out at her place one time. So we watched Clerks 2. And Clerks 2 was a fun, unexpected time because I had heard about Kevin Smith. I had heard about his movies before and how they didn't ever sound like they'd be up my alley. Clerks 2 changed that for me. Then, fast forward a few years, my roommate had a big old crush on Kevin Smith, and when I say crush, I just mean he liked all his movies. So he got me into them, and we watched like every single Kevin Smith movie pretty much, with the exception of a couple, but mainly the View Askew universe movies, you know, your Clerks, Clerks 2, Mallrats, all those movies, you know, with Jay and Silent Bob in them. We pretty much watched all those. We even saw Jay and Silent Bob reboot in theaters. And so here we come to Clerks 3, years in the making, and I have to say, I dug it, but it is definitely not for everybody. And I understand that. It is by no means going to be an Oscar-worthy movie, but there are a lot of stuff in this, a lot of things in this, rather, that I thoroughly enjoyed and actually got quite emotional with, and some stuff that may or may not have worked. But let's start with the cast. Of course, you have Brian O'Halloran and Jeff Anderson returning as Dante Hicks and Randall Graves, respectively. And their chemistry in the film is pretty much intact, and they knocked that aspect of it out of the park. As far as their acting individually, it is very stiff sometimes. That might be the fault of some of the editing, some of the scenes, you know, as you're getting like a back and forth, it does feel pretty forced. But whatever. That's something, as a Kevin Smith fan, you can gloss over. You kind of know that going in, that that's what you're going to be kind of getting. And if you're not, you know, and you're getting into this, that might take you out of it a little bit. But bear with this movie. Oh, then you also got Trevor Fehrman coming back as Elias. You got, of course, Jason Mewes and Kevin Smith coming back as Jay and Silent Bob. And so you got all these cast of characters back that we have grown to know and love over the years. A lot of returns and cameos from, characters from the old movies making their way back. Because Clerks III is essentially just like a love letter to the first Clerks, while at the same time being kind of a commentary on where Kevin Smith is now, which is fine. Art imitates life. And Kevin Smith obviously injected his heart attack and all that stuff into this movie, and also turned it into a big love fest for his probably most acclaimed movie, the first Clerks. I mean, while personally I'm a big Chasing Amy fan, the first Clerks to a lot of people is an indie darling, and rightfully so. It is a fun little movie, and it's got a great story behind it. And if you haven't heard that story, go look for it. I'm not going to waste your time here for it, because I want to talk some more about this, because there is so much to this movie that Kevin tries to do that I appreciate, but just doesn't quite work. And some of it, I think, does lean into maybe getting a little meta with it. I think it could have gone even more meta, and it seems like they didn't go as far as they should have or could have, which is fine. It was hard to strike that balance for me. While I enjoy a lot of the film and enjoy all having these characters back on screen, yeah, I'll admit, some stuff didn't work, but that didn't stop my enjoyment of just seeing everything on the screen, which is no way of giving this a pass. I don't want to give it a pass because I enjoy seeing these characters, so I have to give it a pass. No, I'm going to give it a pass because I do think there is still stuff here that works surprisingly well. And, Kevin nails a lot of the comedy. There's more Star Wars jokes. There's references to other jokes, which also work and make those jokes funny. And, I like that aspect of it. I like being able to kind of rehash jokes, but then also kind of make them fresh, kind of keep up with pop culture, which is what Kevin Smith does with his movies too. And, I don't think he's lost a step when writing some really good witty dialogue. Where I think a lot of his problem comes is with emotion and with dramatic stakes sometimes. And it's been a few years since I've seen something with emotional, dramatic stakes that have actually held weight. And here in this movie, the third act has got a heck of a lot of emotion to it that I think landed for me. And that could just be because I have seen and have been invested in his movies. And part of it could just be because I actually do think Kevin Smith nailed some of the writing, while some of the execution beforehand to get to said emotion probably won't work for some people. It worked for me. There was enough through lines and dots there to connect to get to those emotional beats that it landed for me. And so much so that, when I'm sitting there in that theater in Anaheim, I teared up a couple times. I won't say exactly which scenes. If you've seen them, you'll know what I'm talking about. There are two specific scenes where somebody is in dire peril, and you just it kicks you in the teeth. And I felt it. And then I even rewatched the film before doing this review, because it's on streaming now, or you can go rent it, or not. It's available for purchase on digital download. There you go. So you can buy it. So I bought it on Amazon, and I watched it again, and it did it. It did it a second time to me. So those moments still worked. So if you've had any sort of enjoyment of a Kevin Smith film, if you've even just slightly been amused by some of these movies, you might get a kick out of this. I think, as far as, Jay and Silent, Kevin Smith and Jay Mewes, their chemistry is still awesome and electric in this film. They deliver a lot of the best jokes. Randall and Dante still present a great back and forth and dynamic and friendship that I feel like a lot of us have with people in our lives. And just the nature of the job, a nature of that life that they have led now that they are older and looking back on said life, reflecting on everything, I think it'll hit a lot of people in different ways, because especially a lot of the people who've grown up with Kevin Smith are at that age now. I was a little later in the game, and I'm a little younger than when these movies started coming out, so I'm almost going to be getting to that point, which I think is interesting, and seeing the kind of the Ghost of Christmas future kind of vibe, where it's like, if this is where my life could go, or your life could go kind of message. And I totally dug that and got into this. So at the end of the day, as much as I want to heap praise on this, I do admit it is a flawed, I won't say typical Kevin Smith movie, but he does a lot of the same type of things that Kevin Smith generally does, a little self-service, a lot of fan service, which there's nothing wrong with. But if I'm going to be completely honest and try to remain as much unbiased as I can in terms of reviewing, I think, definitely not his best effort, and I'll say that in all fairness, but I still love the film, if that makes any sense. I love it, just in terms of just again, seeing the characters, the being brought back into this Askewniverse that he's built. So when I give it this grade, know that I do like this film. So the grade just reflects just upon the nature of the film, and I think just breaking it down into those components of, what makes up just a good film, and not grading it on a Kevin Smith curve. And that grade is going to just be a B minus. And I don't think that is definitely not a bad grade. It's above average, and I think that kind of balances out my full-on cinema critiquing, the cinematography, the score, and all that. And while the cinematography, it's okay. And the music, he's got a lot of it, but that's what Kevin Smith does. Some of the songs work that he picks. Some of the songs could have taken or left. Whatever. I think some of them kind of maybe undercut what could have been even more powerful emotional moments, but whatever. So, like, when you can't compare Clerks Iii to, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Two totally different movies, but the filmmaking process is nearly the same in a lot of aspects. The aspects of what is great cinematography, what is great, direction and acting, and it's apparent. I mean, Clerks 3 is not even going to sniff the boots of something like Everywhere Everywhere All at Once. So a B minus, I think, is a great soft landing for this movie, and I think that I'm definitely going to watch it again. I think I'm glad it exists, and while it's not going to win any awards, those two moments that really got me are probably going to stick with me for a while. They stuck with me ever since I saw it, and seeing it now, I mean, they landed. And hearing Kevin Smith afterward talk about the movie and how there's obviously the main, and if you've seen the trailers, there's the main heart attack that kind of kicks off the plot of the movie. How, yeah, that's obviously based on him, but then there's another incident in the movie that is more based on what happened to his dad. And that definitely, after hearing Kevin Smith talk about that story and going back and rewatching this film, definitely hit and landed slightly differently for me, in a good way. So, there you have it. So, if you're a Kevin Smith fan, you're going to love it. And you might see my B minus and be like, why would you only give it a B minus? Well, like I said, I got to also try to be a fair critic here. So, and if you're not a Kevin Smith fan, hearing me say B minus, this might make you go either rent it or just skip it all in general. Because to some people, a B minus might as well be an F, which it's not. So there you have it, guys. Have you guys seen Clerks 3 yet? Do you want to see Clerks 3? Are you a Kevin Smith fan? I know it's been a while, guys, but I have missed talking to people about film. So leave those comments down in the comment section below. If you could. I appreciate it, and I love talking to people about this. And I want to know other people's thoughts on this movie if you've seen it. Also, guys, remember to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, the bell notification to be notified when I drop new videos. And yes, I know it's been almost 2 months, but like I said, life has been crazy. But we're finally getting a string of movies coming out soon that I'm just so excited to get to and review. And, I'm hoping to get back into making this a regular thing. And hopefully not take that long of a break again. I do this every year. There's about like a month frame where nothing comes out, so I just don't come up with any reviews. So hopefully it won't be too much longer till we get the next one. And until that next one comes out, you guys, I'll be seeing you.